Friday, January 6, 2023, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So there's a saying that goes, famous last words, right? And today we're going to look into that in relationship to economy, financial markets. And we've just had a Fed president, Kansas City Fed President Esther George. This is her comment overnight. I don't see something on the verge of blowing up in the financial system. So we're going to look into that and other famous last words we've seen in the past. And also we're going to look into BlackRock, because some of their funds seem to be in trouble, specifically here in the UK. Before I start though, I like to talk a little bit about an opportunity that I think I found yesterday. And how did I find it? Was I looking for an opportunity? No. Yes, things are not great. We're probably already in a recession in the UK. Recession's coming in the US and everywhere else. It could get worse. But sometimes, in times of crises, that's when you get the best opportunities. So my wife and I went out for lunch yesterday to one of our favorite steakhouse restaurants. It's called Miller and Carter. There's, I think, over 100 in the UK. Quite a few of them. Most of them are in England. And yes, it's, I would say, not a high end, but more mid-range steakhouse. It's not. It's a very good restaurant and pub. It used to be a pub. They used to have a bar, but then they've shut the bar since the lockdowns, because they stopped serving in the bar because they didn't want people close together, and they haven't gone back to having a bar. And yeah, so we just went out for a nice meal. I like steak, even though my wife actually had the salmon. But the waitress was very nice, and we were talking to her, and she said, "Well, we also own Brown's," and it's another restaurant that we like, and that's a bit more high end. And she said, "We own the Toby as well, which is a lower end, like a pub restaurant or carvery." And she said, "We also own All Bar One, which is like a chain of pubs." And I remember All Bar One well in the city of London. When I was younger, we used to go there after work to have a few drinks. And I said, "What's the company?" She said, "Well, Mitchell's and Butler." And I said, "Oh, can I buy shares in it?" And then she started talking. "Oh yeah, I have shares in it. We are given shares if we want by the company." And I looked into it, and it doesn't pay a dividend, but you might think, well, pubs and restaurants, they're in trouble. Yes, maybe the small ones, unfortunately, but this seems to be an interesting company. And I had a look after we left, and I bought some shares. Not that many, just dip my toe into the water, so to speak. And I also had a look at the long-term chart. And as you can see here, I think this is an indicator of a recession, because every time there's been a recession, the stock has dropped quite massively, as you can see here, back in October 2008, and then back again during lockdowns, of course, and then it rebounded, and now it's just gone back down in October. It kind of almost made a new low, and now it seems to be rebounding. So yeah, it's a restaurant that I like, the Miller and Carter. I like the other ones too, and they own a lot of other brands. So there you go. Am I telling you to buy this? No, but I bought some. You might want to look at it. I haven't looked at the accounts or the financials. I might do so and maybe decide to buy more. Who knows? But yes, opportunity in a crisis. So Mitchells and Butlers, it's called. It's on the London Stock Exchange. The ticker's MAB. Am I getting paid by them? No. I'm just telling you of what I did. I'm not telling you to do it, but have a look. So, I think it was back in the beginning of December, I made a video called A Private Equity Black Swan, question mark. Blackstone stops redemptions, and it was a redemption for a real estate fund. Maybe I should have said a real estate fund black swan, because as I said earlier in the video, we now have BlackRock in trouble, or some of their funds. It's been reported here in the Wall Street Journal. BlackRock's UK property fund delays withdrawals again. So there you go. The problem with real estate funds is if investors want to cash out, sometimes it's difficult because these real estate funds have to sell property, and property is not very liquid. It takes a while to sell a building or houses or whatever. But what this tells me is that more and more people want to get out of these, because we've always had these real estate or property funds, and we haven't had this problem. So it shows that investors are trying to get out, and it's kind of creating a problem. And so there's Blackstone. They talk about the Blackstone problem in December, and now it's BlackRock, and it's a 3.5 billion pound fund. And yes, they've deferred redemptions here. And there's also another British asset manager, M&G. On Thursday, they also temporarily deferred payouts. Another one is Columbia Threadneedle, said it would stick to a recently introduced policy of only allowing monthly rather than daily redemptions. It doesn't mean, of course, BlackRock is going to go under or anything, but it could be a black swan, all these property funds. We'll have to see. And talking about black swans, let's go to this Fed official. Yes, it was last night, London time. Esther George, I don't see something on the verge of blowing up in the financial system. And a few days ago, I did a video about Alan Greenspan saying that the Fed would only pivot, really, if there was a huge financial event that the financial markets or system needed to be saved, or maybe not saved, but put back into order. And this Esther George said this, and it's interesting. I saw this through Breaking Market News on Twitter, and then someone below here replied, Fed's Bernanke, and this is from February 27, 2008, and just before everything kicked off in September and Lehman collapsed. Bernanke sees no recession but big challenge. So there you go. That's the famous last word of Bernanke. And there's some Yellen famous last words as well. Back in, let's see here, the date, June 27th, 2017, Fed's Yellen expects no new financial crisis in our lifetimes. So less than 3 years later, we had the 2020 financial crisis. Actually, it started in September 2019. It was a repo crisis, which could have brought down a lot of banks on Wall Street. And the Fed, of course, had to do not QE, and that was the repo crisis. And we're told that it was in 2020, March 2020, we're told that it was because of the lockdowns that everything crashed. But I would say that was just a cover for that repo crisis. So there you go. Yellen's famous last words. Well, she's got another famous last word, Janet Yellen. And this is from 2018. Is the Federal Reserve's quantitative tightening like watching paint dry? And so this article says here, in June 2017, ex-Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen stated that quantitative tightening, or QT, in terms of the balance sheet normalization will be like watching paint dry. Well, what happened in 2019? Well, we saw the repo crisis, and the Fed had to stop the quantitative tightening. If anything, you had to start doing QE again, as you can see here by the Fed's balance sheet. So maybe Esther George, the president of the Kansas City Fed, is right. Maybe she's not. But the track record of Fed officials is not very good concerning these comments. And I saw yesterday as well, I think it was Kashkari, he's the Minneapolis Fed president. He said that he doesn't see any trouble in the financial system because it's so transparent nowadays. But how can it be transparent if the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, that regulates worldwide these too big to fail banks, said recently that there's about 80 trillion not in the banking system of derivatives that are like they didn't know about. So how many more trillions out there that they don't know about? So how can the financial system be transparent? So the other thing that we hear now is that Fed officials are saying rates are going to remain, where they are or higher until 2024. And that reminded me of when they used to say back in 21, 22, in the beginning of 22, that rates are going to remain low up until 2024, 2025. Now they're saying the opposite, and I think they might be overdoing it. We'll have to see. So there you go. We should look at the markets now then. It's just going after 8:30 London time. We've got spot gold at 1837.50. It's up about $5. High's been 41. The low's been 30. Yeah, yesterday afternoon London time, gold and silver got hit hard, but everything got hit hard. The stock market, the currencies. So today, of course, we've got non-farm payroll. That's out at 1:30 London time or 8:30 a.m. Eastern time in the U.S. And let's have a look what's expected here. Non-farm payroll, of course, is probably the most important statistic that comes out every month. And it used to be the same when I was working in the city. Even in the 90s, people look at this number. So it's expected to rise by 200,000 in December, non-farm payrolls from 263. The unemployment rate is expected to stay at 3.7, and the average hourly earnings expected to rise by 0.4% for the month of December. So if any of these numbers, with the exception of the unemployment rate, of course, are higher than expected, that could be bad again for the stock market, because it means that people are going to expect the Fed to remain in a tightening mode. Unemployment rate, of course, if that goes up, that has the other effect, of course. So back to the markets. We've got silver up 18 cents at 23.40. High's been 50, low 23.18. The Dow futures is up 50 points. NASDAQ 100 futures up 11. S&P is up 6 points. To the currencies, we got sterling down about 0.2% at 118.88. The euro is unchanged, 105.22. The dollar is up 0.75% versus the yen at 134.35. So I've noticed the dollar is kind of rebounding versus the yen. I think we got down to like 130 the other day. Dollar yuan, dollar's down about a third at 686. Let's have a look at the dollar ruble. Dollar ruble is unchanged at 72, so not moving much there. To the other currencies here, Aussie dollar is unchanged, 67.52. The dollar is up 1/8% versus the Canadian dollar, 135.87. And the Kiwi dollar is unchanged, 62.22. Let's quickly look at platinum. Platinum is unchanged at around 1,060. WTI crude is up 0.5% at 74.03. Brent is up a third at 78.95. High-grade copper is up 0.5% at 384. U.S. nat gas is down 2% at 356. Let's quickly go through the bond market. 10-year yield is unchanged at 373. The 2-year is up about 2 basis points at 447. To the UK gilt market now. The 2-year is up 2 basis points, 352. The 10-year is up another 3 basis points at 358. And the 30-year is still below 4%, but is up 4 basis points at 395. So with that, I wish you all a great day, a great weekend. Take care. Bye.